Namaskaram. My name is Vivekananda. Literally, it means wisdom and happiness. I believe in living a simple life. I believe in thinking differently. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. Through this YouTube channel, I aim to bring time tested wisdom and happiness together into your business and life by unifying, simplifying, amplifying technology, nature, and yoga. The name of my YouTube channel is Tech Nature Yoga. My hope is to bring clarity to people who are in the so called West and are looking for some guidance. Even if you are in a different part of the world, you might still find my effort worthwhile because much of today's world is, as it is called, westernized. I feel that it is my responsibility to share my understanding of karma, and I want to craft my destiny myself. Wouldn't you want to do the same? That is why I have started this series of YouTube videos. I want to understand the concept of karma properly and share it with as many people as possible. I find it particularly important because of the worldwide situation that we are presently living in. I hope to be useful in some way. My aim here is to facilitate discussion so that we all gain deeper understanding. What do I expect in return? Well, hopefully you will like and subscribe. The easiest way to contact me is through my website, wake-technology.com, where you will find multiple ways to reach me. Now it is time to introduce ourselves. Please note that our audience may come across any episode of this series. Because of that, these introductions need to be repeated in every episode. Now, I have already introduced myself at the very beginning. So it is time for my guests today to introduce themselves. At the moment, we have only one, Loveland. So um, I would like you to answer these questions.
Mhm.
The first question may need some explanation for those who are new or new to my videos. The question I want to be answered is, why do you do what you do? I hope I have answered why I do what I do in my introduction. Lots of people have heard about Simon Sinek and his world famous talk about why.
Mhm.
I shall put a link to that talk in the description of this video on YouTube. Okay, so Lowland.
Well, greetings. This is LA or Lowell Ann speaking from Canada's West Coast on Vancouver Island. I came to this group because I'm inspired by Sadhguru's approach and because Vivek and I have mutually supported each other for years. I spent my whole career helping people decide what they should do. First through career counseling and then through coaching and career and business coaching. Today, I'm enjoying my retirement through study and discovering how to support Canadian Indigenous people as we all move toward reconciliation. You can find my most recent website at arcticcarvings.com. Nice to be here. Be back.
Okay, we have done our introductions, so let us watch a pre-recorded video which has been previously recorded. I just managed to record it today. I've been very busy with lots of other things, but I record it in advance so that I cover exactly what I want to cover without wasting your time. So here we go. Bear with me while I do that. Karma, a yogi's guide to crafting your destiny. Let us study chapter 3. Sadhguru gives several sutras. Sutra literally means thread. Each of these sutras hold a pearl or a gem, as it were, so we would all do well to make note of these. So here is Sutra 3. Let me read it out for you. There is only one crime against life: to make believe that you are something other than life. This section of the book is called the Mammoth Memory Bank. Sadhguru narrates a Shankaran Pillai story. It happened. One day, Shankaran Pillai got very angry with his wife and left home. After wandering the streets for an entire night, he went to a restaurant for breakfast. When the server came to his table, he said, "Please serve me weak coffee, over-salted sambar, and rock-hard idlis." The server was puzzled. "But sir, I can serve you some really hot and strong coffee, delicious sambar, and super soft idlis." "You fool! Do you think I've come here to enjoy breakfast?" asked Shankaran Pillai. "I'm just homesick." So, it doesn't matter what it is. Once you've gotten used to something, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, you cannot drop it. If it is volition that determines karma, the inevitable question is, from where does your volition arise? As we have seen, it is from your identification with the notion of separateness. From where then does this identification arise? From memory. You believe you are an individual because your memory tells you that this is who you are. Perhaps it would be more accurate and more useful, therefore, to describe karma as memory. Think about it. Everything you consider to be yourself is a result of memory. What you call me is a product, in every sense of the term, of your past. Everything that has ever come into contact with you through these 5 sense organs, whatever you saw, heard, smelled, tasted, and touched, is there in your memory, influencing your personality. Every bit of memory that you gathered in wakefulness and in sleep is in this bank. Your body is a heap of food you have ingested over time. Your mind is a heap of impressions and ideas you have imbibed and processed over time. Both are creations of the past. Both are products of memory. So, whether you identify with your body or your mind, what you call your personality is simply an accumulation of memory. The essence of everything you consider to be yourself is karmic. You may not remember consciously what happened 25 years ago, but it is working on you. What happened 2500 years ago is still imprinted on your body. What happened 25 million years ago is still encrypted in your body. Everything that ever happened on this planet is still remembered by your body, because your body is just a piece of this planet. As a karmic bondage builds up, you will naturally try to draw smaller and smaller circles around yourself. At the age of 18, most people draw large circles. By the age of 70, the circles shrink, and people find that they can get along with only a few. By drawing karmic circles, you determine the boundaries of your responsibility. As you keep shrinking these boundaries, you are heading straight toward depression. When you were 18, it looked like you could grow in so many different ways. But as you grew older, it slowly seemed like choices were shrinking. It felt like there was only one way for you to be. As the karmic substance increases in volume, the discerning mind becomes almost useless, because you now work largely by habits, patterns, and cycles. Let me take a few seconds to explain my call to action. I hope you found it useful so far, so I request you to like this video. Please subscribe to my channel at Tech Nature Yoga and hit the bell icon so that you can customize the notifications you get when I upload a new video. We are now moving on to the next section of the book. Human beings as bags of karma. In this section, Sadhguru narrates his own experience when he was age 4 or 5. I am quoting from the book here. If you look at most intellectuals in this world, you will see that they have become heavy with memory. He further says, I carry much more memory than most, but I am not encumbered by it, because I carry my karma at a distance from myself. That is what Sadhguru says, not me. Now, this analogy is interesting for me. Lowland would know what I mean. I'm again quoting here. I can access it when I need it, but I do not carry the load upon myself all the time. With practice, everyone is capable of this. It is similar to the cloud on which we now store our computer files. Accessible when we need it, but that does not clutter our hard disk. Thus, I do have access to lifetimes of memory, but is all on a cloud. We have now come to the interesting topic of membranes of memory. The yogic tradition has an elaborate method of differentiating memory. It distinguishes between 8 dimensions or membranes of memory. On this slide, I have put them in 2 different columns. You will see why. Elemental, atomic, evolutionary, genetic. These 4 are on one side. And then karmic, sensory, articulate, inarticulate. These remaining 4 are on the other side. As Sadhguru explains, all 8 can be seen essentially as human karma. The first 4 are types of memory in which personal volition plays no role. The next 4 are those in which personal volition does play a role. In other words, the first 4 constitute our collective karma. The next 4 constitute our individual karma. Let us examine the first 4 aspects of memory, the ones in which personal volition plays no role. Elemental memory refers to the way the building blocks of your system, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, shape who you are. They carry with them memories from the very beginning of creation. Atomic memory, the fluctuating patterns of atoms that make up your body, molds your system further. Evolutionary memory hones your biology. It is this evolutionary software that makes you a human being, for instance, and not an animal. Even if you dog food, you remain a human being. This evolutionary code is imprinted deeply upon your DNA. What is your body anyway? As we have seen, it is just an accumulation of food, water, and air you have absorbed from the planet. The substance you call earth and the substance you call body are not different, but a complex amalgam of memories transforms the substance beyond recognition. The privilege of being a human being in this life is mainly due to evolutionary memory. The same external elements of water, air, and food behave differently within each human being. As soon as you ingest them, they begin to work in very different ways. The water in a bottle is very different from the water inside your system. The fruit outside you behaves very differently once it is within you. The transformation is mainly because of the interplay of atomic, elemental, and evolutionary memory within you. Certain dimensions of memory are shared by all of us: the elemental, the atomic, and the evolutionary. However, our genetic and personal karmas are different. Genetic memory is passed on within families, determining several shared physical and psychological characteristics. Beyond these 4 types of memory, which make up our collective karma, are the 4 types of memory in which Our personal volition does play a role. They make up our individual karma. First is our personal karmic memory, the blitzkrieg of impressions that have shaped us over time and turned us into distinctive human beings, each with our own quirks and idiosyncrasies, likes and dislikes, habits and preferences. Every human being carries a vast storehouse of personal karmic memory, which is why no two human beings, even twins, are ever completely alike. Our daily negotiation with our immediate physical and cultural environment also has an impact upon our system, determining the way our bodies and minds respond to the world and creating sensory memory. Let us look at the last two. Articulate memory is the impact of all the conscious information that every human being carries within. And then we have inarticulate memory, the enormous reservoir of genetic and specific information accumulated over eons, of which we are not aware. It is a base akin to the foundation of a house and silently influences how you gather articulate memory, your superstructure. These 8 dimensions of memory are not separate membranes. They are deeply interlinked. And it is these interconnections that are responsible for the breathtaking diversity of the human beings we see around us. These membranes constitute the entire volume of a human being's karma. Evolution is accumulated memory constantly building upon itself to reach higher and higher possibilities of life. But human beings, being the very peak of evolution, can transcend this entire volume of accumulated memory and become the architects of their own destinies. Let us move into the next section. As I have already covered a lot, I'll just say this quote from this section and move on to the next section. The dead are trying to live through you in a host of different ways. Make no mistake about it. Look at your own life or at the lives of those around you. For many people, having children is a way of immortalizing their genetic material, a way of ensuring that they live on after their time. Runanubandha, the honey trap of physical memory. This is another section of the book which deals with the so-called modern way of looking at relationships, including the intimate and sexual relationships and their impact on karma. This section deals with questions like, what is the role of committed relationships in a fast changing world? How necessary are they? Has commitment outlived its utility? Has it outgrown its relevance? But I'm not going to explain any of that because I want you to buy the book and read it or listen to it. Let me take a few seconds to explain the call to action. I hope you find it useful so far, so I request you to like this video and subscribe to my channel at Tech Nature Yoga and hit the bell icon so that you can customize the notifications you get when I upload a new video. This is a sadhana, a tool or device that Sadhguru provides in the book. Let me read it out for you. If you want to test your own levels of Runanubandha, you could try sitting alone in an unfamiliar place on an unfamiliar piece of furniture. Observe yourself closely. How comfortable is your body? Is it uneasy? Does it seem to want to be elsewhere? You may have noticed that older people often have a favorite armchair. In many families, people gravitate toward the same chairs at the dining table. Some of this is a matter of convenience or habit, but very often what is at work is Runanubandha. The more Runanubandha you build, you can be sure you are moving backward on the ladder of spiritual evolution. Karma sets a boundary for you. When that boundary becomes too comfortable, it is time to start becoming vigilant. The same chair or room may give you physical privacy, but if you find yourself growing territorial about it or disturbed as if your very identity depends on it, it is time to start shaking up your karma. The reason many spiritual traditions offered monasteries and ashrams to seekers was to enable them to live in a circumscribed geographical place that was free of Runanubandha. This sometimes created a new set of boundaries and territories, which is unfortunate. But the aim was always to empower the seeker to expand horizons rather than to contract them. In the outside world, their Runanubandha would often draw them to a certain set of people or places or circumstances over and over again. Kshetra Sannyas, a Sanskrit term that refers to a vow to never leave a certain consecrated geographical space, was a way for seekers to liberate themselves from the overpowering tentacles of physical memory. I thank the viewers who have been watching. Since you have been watching so far, it means you are getting some value out of this video. So let me take this opportunity to request you to like this video. Please subscribe to my channel at Tech Nature Yoga and hit the bell icon so that you can customize the notifications you get when I upload a new video. The book is available in multiple formats and multiple languages: English, Hindi, German, French, Spanish, Italian, even Russian, etc. It is also available in multiple formats such as paperback or electronic books such as Kindle or audio formats from Audible. where Sadhguru himself reads the book. You would find the links to these in the description of this video on YouTube. It's time for our discussion. We just watched the pre-recorded video. In the video, we covered these aspects. Let me share the screen. I'll copy paste these into the comments in Google Meet so that you don't need to make note of them.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. What do you think of the?
Well, it's really interesting to me how there is a huge difference between when you sit and read something and when you hear it read to you and so forth. Because I did read that chapter, but it's amazing the number of things that came to mind as you were reviewing it just a while ago. So, and maybe it's just because I read the chapter probably a week ago, and maybe it's had time to marinate. So one of the things that popped into my mind, and this may not seem relevant at first, but bear with me. And I have a hard time finding a way to say that. But I was thinking about that whole thing about your body memory and what you carry with you, and a couple of examples. I remember, when I worked for government, and whenever there was a meeting, everybody always went to exactly the same seat around the board table. So. Yeah, that happens, and it's just I think what it is there is a habit, but it's a way of feeling comfortable, less uncomfortable. Yeah, but here's an example of something that popped into my mind as you were going through that. I have a couple of friends here in Victoria. One friend in particular who has lived her entire married life in one house. And she's now at the point where her husband passed away, and she needs to sort all that stuff and make decisions about moving on. And I remember she and I having the conversations about that. And I began to realize, I mean, for one thing, 40 years of accumulated stuff is overwhelming to deal with.
Yes.
And I started thinking about that and thinking about my own life. And I really kind of went back through that, all the different places that I've lived. In fact, I just pulled it up. I am in Google Sheets, I wrote all the places I've lived. And I put the house number and the street and location, the city, town, the province, and the years. Some of the years I kind of didn't bother going back and trying to find. But in that document, it shows that I've lived in 23 different places in my lifetime. And recognizing that each time you make a major move, you get rid of a lot of stuff. Costs a lot of money to move stuff, so you sort things out every time you move. And so where I live right now is a studio that only has what I need and nothing more. And I remember thinking about that, you know, when you live in one place all your life versus living in different places. I would say that and this one friend, she's not the only one. I've stumbled on a couple of others that are going through the same thing. So they've lived in the same place for years, and it is so ingrained in the way they feel and the way they look at life and everything. It's just amazing. And then when I look back on my own and look at the different places that I lived and recognizing the reasons that those moves were made, it was and they were that as I look back on them, they weren't uncomfortable. They were just because I was moving on in my life, and moving on in my life meant major changes. So getting back to that whole thing about you know, that body memory, it helped me realize how difficult this decision is for these people that have lived in that one place for all those years.
Yes.
I mean, to dislodge that memory, that and it's physical. It's a physical memory. Yeah. It's so that made me think about how difficult it is to counteract a lot of these habits and a lot of these memories that not just the you know, the place or the body memory, but I mean there's I'm reading a book right now that talks about personality. And in that book it also says things about how you become attached to what you think of as your personality. And you become so attached to it that possibilities begin to disappear. And so yeah, and I mean I'm sure that all of these different kinds of memories and habits that that we have. I mean, when you were talking about you know, the big circle when you're 16, and how small the circle is when you're 80 or 70 or whatever. And yeah, I mean that's helps me sort of see and understand the importance of well, it's a way of dealing with change, but also I mean expansion. I mean, if you're still wanting to learn and experience and grow, we have to let go of those solid habits and memories. So that's all that stuff that came up for me when you read that.
Yeah. um, yeah, for me, my during my childhood, uh, my father he is no more, was a employee in a bank. So he was a bank manager,
Mm-hmm.
and in India.
Yeah.
And the bank used to post him to a different town or a village or location every 2 3 years. So it was, and my schooling, at least my primary schooling, has used to be 2 3 years in every different place. So uh, yeah, I see the impact that that has had on me, in the sense, I then became open to accepting change. I became open to uh, making new friends,
Mm.
um, doing things in a different way, and so on. So yeah, and the other aspect which I realized, I mean, I didn't talk about this in the last episode, but between the last episode and today, there was this. We had this festival, which is a overnight festival. Um, it is for Shiva, or Adi Yogi, which Sadhguru keeps talking about, or Shivaratri. Um, it is a all night program where everybody is supposed to be awake. Everybody is supposed to be actually fasting, not eating any food, uh, not having any drinks, no alcohol, no drugs, no smoking, nothing. But still, uh, on that night, there were millions of people in India and all over everywhere else, because we here we a few of us gathered together, and hired a hall. We all watched the program, which was being live streamed from the Isha Yoga Center. So why I'm talking about all this is a festival of a god, which is who is the god of destruction. He destroys everything, your karma, your everything. The whole point is, unless you destroy the old thing, there is no place for the new thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Mm, so for the to break all these runanabandha and so on, um, Adiyogi, or following these principles, is I feel that is very beneficial. So yeah,
Is it you say it's about destruction, so um that word brings up a whole lot of other things for me that I'm sure are not intended. Is it like wiping the slate clean and starting
mhm,
starting over kind of thing?
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. But that destruction includes everything, includes the universe, in fact. So uh, the scientists now know that universe had a beginning, so which also means it will have an end.
Mhm. Right.
So it is the end of the universe, that kind of thing. And this god is supposed to be the lord of time.
The Lord of Time. Hmm.
So there are various terms associated with Shiva, and Shiva itself actually means that which is not.
Right.
That is the definition of, that is the meaning of the word Shiva. Sadhguru has talked about it in various talks. It's not. It's. I wonder whether that is covered in the Karma book in the next few chapters. I really don't know. I'm going through the book as I produce this video series. So
Mhm.
um, yes, because my point is to learn something for myself, I should present it. Then I learn it
Mhm.
better.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
There's nothing like teaching.
yes.
Uh, yeah. So there was something else that jumped out for me in that
Mm-hmm.
membranes of memory.
Mm-hmm.
When yeah, you talked about the parts that we don't really have much control over,
Yeah.
and the genetic memory was a part that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought up something that was kind of interesting to me,
Mm-hmm.
especially in my own experience. um I have made a study of family history.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been to a gathering a number of years ago to, of members of this my father's family, and something popped up on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I find is I mean it's just happened in the last couple of days. So this has to do with Facebook Messenger. So that's where people go in and can chit chat with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly this messenger popped up. I don't know how it ended up in my
Mm-hmm.
for me. I still haven't figured out. But it is a group of people who have
Mm-hmm.
come together to talk about being descendants. Oh, we're all descendants of the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these people live in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and my family name is Brown, Brown. And the question arose in this thing, um, that some of the people in the US that have this name, they put an E on the name.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were all these questions talking about, I wonder if we're this part of the same family or whatever. And suddenly somebody that I met at the gathering that I went to years ago, who still lives in my hometown in the Maritimes,
Mm-hmm.
popped in. And there was all this discussion about all this family history, and we're all part of this one family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just and I'm probably the oldest person in that group. The other lady that from hometown that popped in, he's probably getting close to my age. But a lot of these people are people who are are very young and who have just suddenly discovered an interest or a curiosity about all of this. It's just fascinating. So, I mean, this whole genetic memory becomes. I mean, it's part. It's part of who we are.
Yes.
And the more we know about that, the more curiosity we have about that, the more. Well, I don't know whether it's what. So, what is the benefit of that? I guess is what I'm trying to wrap my mind around. So, the benefit of knowing something about your touching base with your genetic memory, I guess, helps you kind of understand who you are. It helps you connect to people that you may not even have even met.
Yeah.
So I guess it brings up the whole concept of being part of something bigger than yourself. Yeah.
In fact, in this chapter itself, Sadhguru does talk about I also mentioned that in the presentation, we are nothing but a piece of this planet. So
correct.
We all are, which means it's the concept of individuality is suspect.
Yes. Because this genetic memory helps you become part of the whole. And the other thing about this genetic memory that I find fascinating is from my study of the indigenous people here in North America. Of course, their genetic memory, it's very important to them to pass on from one generation to the next who they are and how they're connected all the way back. But they do it, they don't do it on paper and, on the internet like family history people are doing now. They do it through stories, family stories. And it's a very, very, very important aspect of the indigenous culture, is for them to, and of course they see themselves as part of the planet as well. That all my relations refers to that view of being part of the whole planet. But it's fascinating how important it is for them, their culture, to pass along those stories, and so that they know who they are, and and because of the residential school system here, which I won't go into, but it has had very, very negative impact on the indigenous people. A lot of them have lost that, and so now in the whole reconciliation process, many of them are getting in touch with that again, and they're really, really working at that, because they know it's part of an incredible healing journey they need to go through. So, so that genetic memory, if you can be in touch with it, it's a healing thing. It's to know who you are and be able to place yourself within that in some. That's fascinating part for me as well when all that genetic stuff came up. Yeah, being a piece of the planet. Yes. Yeah. So the other thing, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. We talked about time change, the impact of changing from one time system to another, and I mean, what it does is it does force us to it works us loose from old habits. So perhaps I mean, on one hand, we can say, well, I prefer my daylight in the morning and others want their daylight at night. But by shaking that up twice a year, maybe is not such a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because it works us loose from that thing, that small circle where, it makes the circle bigger again.
Yeah. Stops us from getting into the concrete routine of I wake up at this particular time and I start doing this, and ignore everything else, which is but when you keep doing that, you're heading for depression. I keep saying that because Sadhguru and others, scientists, they're all saying that we are headed for a mental health pandemic.
Yes.
The world is heading for that.
Yeah.
So
we
have to protect ourselves from,
So here's something else that popped into my inbox, I think, this morning. So I wrote down the piece out of your presentation. Your body is a piece of the planet, and connecting that up with this whole concept of depression. This piece that dropped into my inbox talked about a technique for overcoming and healing from depression. And what it involves is walking in the forest. And so connecting with the trees and the plants and nature. So in other words, connecting your body with the planet. Really.
Or rather reconnecting.
Isn't it funny though how all these funny things pop in and you start to see little connections between all these things? It's fascinating.
So Sadhguru has often said that every second of your living, every atomic particle in your body is in communication with rest of the universe.
Yes.
So in what sense are we really individual?
Right. Yeah. Wow.
We are part of this universe. Universe is part of us. So in fact, that is yoga. You did bring up nature. And yoga. So, and of course, we are using this technology for our communication, meeting, contacts, presentation, everything. So, I'm looking at the time. It is time for us to wrap up. So we have we have come to the end of the episode today. Um, it is 6 o'clock here, and Canadians have already moved their clocks, but we didn't. Anyway, next week we shall discuss the next chapter, which is called The Great Karmic Warehouse. So we will talk about the warehouse. So yeah, hopefully you'll join us. See you next week.
Namaste to all my relations.
Namaste to all my relations.